Hi everybody, my name's Vicki and I am on the Lavinia World Challenges design team, and we just had our first year anniversary and we are so happy to have grown into the group that we are. I think that we have the best design team right now, and the members are so enjoyable to work with and chat with, and the work that you all do is amazing. Often I get asked how I make my backgrounds for my cards, and they're really much simpler than they look. And I thought that I would share with you all how I do this card. Almost every card I make is A2, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This one happens to be matted on just some plain purple stock. And my preference for paper when I'm doing most work is actually a very smooth, but recently I have bought just some simple store brand watercolor paper from Michaels, and I actually really like how the ink lays on the card. However, I have noticed that with the Lavinia World silhouettes, it does take multiple stamps sometimes to really get it fluid. So I usually go back in and fill it in with a marker. But let's get started. So at the end, I will post all of the stamps, and actually we only use 4 in this great card, but I will post those in the comments so that you all will be able to see that. So I have scrap paper here. So here's my card. This is the watercolor card. I have 2 pieces of just some scrap paper that I have torn so that they have just lots of different edges, some nooks and valleys, because that's how we're going to create our layers. And then I have just a single punched or die cut circle that I'm going to use to do the moon. You guys have probably all seen that little smooshing action that just gives it such a special effect. Then I use brushes almost always when I'm doing my shading. I find that I use less ink. I have a little bit of a lighter touch to them. And we also have these on the Lavinia World website. So take a look, maybe buy one cheaper somewhere first so you can kind of get the feel to it. I don't clean mine, so I end up dirty with, or not really dirty, but with inky hands all the time. But I have one for every color that I use. The inks that I prefer to use, because I can't always find all of the colors of the Versa Fine Clair that I want, is I love the Ranger Archival Ink. And I have probably 2 or 3 of each color because I'm always afraid that I'm going to run out. So we are going to use Sunflower. We are going to use Fuchsia. We are going to use Paradise Teal. And we are going to use the Deep Purple color. I also have a StazOn ink, which is in the alcohol-based ink, so it will smear if you try to color it later with any kind of alcohol ink. But I like this green color, and believe it or not, I'm actually out of Ranger green. So we're going to use the StazOn green, and this is a great color for the bottom or the grassy area. So I'm going to try to do this upside down. It's not something I normally do, but I want you all to be able to see how I do it. So hopefully I don't have too much glare, and you kind of get where I'm going with this. So I'm going to start at the bottom. I need to find my green brush, and as I open it, now I just kind of lightly rotate here on the ink. That gives me more than enough ink usually, and then I will go back and make a few darker and lighter areas. But we're going to start at the bottom, and you can make your hills sideways. You can make them straight. You can do whatever you want. For me, I try not to get myself all kind of in my head about it, and I just start. But I want to start off to the edge of the paper, just a little. Let me move that over so you can see off the edge of the paper a little bit, because I don't want it to be too heavy right away. So we'll just come down, and you can see it's just effortless, and it's nice and smooth. You get great color effect, and I can go back in and fill where maybe the ink didn't rub, or I didn't push quite hard enough, because it really doesn't take any effort at all. I'm going to see There, I'm going to turn that light off. I think that's going to be a little easier for you to see. But now you can see here we've got our layers. And I'm going to give this just a little bit more. And obviously, as you go across each one, you are going to see it develop all on its own. It's really no work for you. And I'm going to go across. I want this to be just a little darker on the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Perfect. And so you can see on the card, we've got, you know, a few different layers, and those will stand out more as we go along. So now I'm going to do the yellow because I kind of feel like the brighter area really matches with the green. And so I'm just going to turn our paper around. I'm going to pull my yellow brush. And again, I'm just going to tap the ink just like I did the last time. Now, one of the things that I'm not going to worry about is I'm not going to worry about that my green bleeds into, or the yellow bleeds into the green area here. So again, I'm going to start off to the side, and I'm going to take it all the way down because if you look at a sunset, it does. It goes all the way down. There's no separation there. The separation is going to be in the color itself. Perfect. And I'm going to come up because I want it to be just a little higher. Going to add a little ink, and I'm going to come across just a touch lighter here because we want to see that fade reaction there. And see if you can see that there. So we're a little lighter here because maybe it's just a little brighter there. Don't worry about making it even. I think kind of the shades is really what sets it off. And I'm going to go ahead and add just a little more yellow because I like that. And when we get to the fuchsia or the pink color, we're actually going to blend and we get this just a gorgeous melon color. Now, I have a melon color ink, but play with your colors. You know, the color is exactly just as magical as the card and stamps themselves. Okay, so let's pull our yellow here. The pink, again, this is the fuchsia, and this one is super wet for me, so it won't take much at all. And again, I'm going to start off on the edge of the paper over here so it's not too heavy. And look, when that pink just blends right in with that, the yellow, and gives us an amazing melon color. I'll hold that up in just a second for you. Now I'm only going to put the pink in one place here because while there's pink in a sunset, that's really not the color that I want to highlight in here. I want them all to kind of stand out on their own. So you'll see now we've got this gorgeous melon color where the yellow and the pink blended together. Now I'm going to turn this over, and here's where I'm going to add the blue. Now, I don't follow the colors of the rainbow, and I don't even really know what the saying is. My granddaughter tells me I'm doing it wrong. But I like my blue to be here because the purple is actually darker than the blue, and I want that to give us that nighttime or late evening effect at the top. So I'm just getting some ink on my brush to the side, and again, I'm going to start off the side, and I come across. And it's already going to blend in with that pink, so we're already going to start to get that purple. And then I'm coming to the top. How many of you go to work with blue fingers or pink fingers? My friends and co-workers all know when I've been crafting the night before because they see my hands the next morning. All right, so that is our blue. And again, I've got two shades, and all I did was move my paper up and down a little bit. Now I'm going to finish this off completely with the purple. And I think one of the things that I like the most about doing the backgrounds this way is that it doesn't matter how many colors you use, or even if you did them all at the same time, you are never going to get just the same background. It's always going to be separate. So in this one, I'm going to hold it down a little bit to the bottom. The alcohol ink for me usually dries a little bit quicker, but if I've layered the ink a little bit, I'll use my fingernails or even just a tissue to hold it because you don't want to leave a fingerprint on your card. All right, so here's our purple. I'm going to start at the corner. Again, You can see how heavy it is right here off the card. And I don't want that big blob because I want it to be nice and smooth on my card. So I'm going to just come across and again, just blend it in. You want it to almost seem fluid, like the colors just automatically go there. Then what I do almost all the time, because it gives it a little bit of a shadowy effect, you could take a navy blue if you wanted, which obviously would be darker. I just take my purple and start at the purple and I work it all the way down, because it's not going to necessarily look purple on your card in the other colors, but it does darken them all up. I'll show you. Let me finish this one and I'll show you that effect. And it's just enough to kind of highlight it. Gives it like a looking in feel. Okay, so that's it. That's the background. That's how I do them. No matter what size I'm making. I often have some special orders for matted and framed images, anywhere from 5x7 to 8x10, and I do my backgrounds exactly the same. So real quick, I've already went ahead and placed the stamps that I wanted to use in my MISTI to save us a little bit of time. I'm going to put those down. And for this, I am going to do the Versafine Claire on there. It's going to take us a couple of stamps to get that nice solid image on here. In hindsight, I should have used a different paper so it would take it all at once, but that's okay. Give it a good push. If you all don't have a stamping platform of some kind, I would encourage you to get one. You know, save your mad money for it. It's amazing the difference that it makes in your projects. You don't have to worry about that double placement. Now, occasionally my magnets move, and it's usually after I'm 100% happy with something, and then I end up a little unhappy. But the images are perfect, so they almost just shadow. I'm giving it a good push. And so you can see on here, because the paper that I'm using is so porous, we've got some open spots here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a Copic marker, and I've used just a plain old black pen if it's just a few spots. A Sharpie works really well. Just keep in mind that Sharpies are alcohol based, so watch what ink you're using. And I'm just going to go fill in these spaces. Then I don't waste my ink pad or get too frustrated. And nobody but you is going to know that you went back in and filled that in, so they were nice and clear and crisp. Super. Okay. So now I just want to add a little bit of foliage. Those of you that follow along on the blogs and play along in our challenges, I bet you notice that we quite often, well, especially for me, I have a few stamps that are just more favorite than others. And so I tend to let those be my go-to stamps that I use for probably 80% of my projects. And one of those is the Wild Vine stamp. You'll notice that my stamps are stained and very well loved. I don't wash my stamps. I will occasionally wipe them off because I get some fuzz or something like that on there, but I don't wipe them off. I don't worry about it. So for the stamp, to give it some depth, I turn my card sideways. This is the one time that I don't always use the platform because I'm not so worried about it. I go light to dark. There's a few companies out there that tell you it doesn't matter. I just do light to dark. So you're going to do whatever makes you happy. But I want to do some dark vines, just hang them down. I really don't mind that it doesn't come all the way through on this one. Just press it through. And I'm just going to smush it off to the side because I'm only using blues this time, so I'm really not too worried about mixing up the color. Now, I do finally have the Versafine Twilight It's amazing. The color is fabulous. But now I'm going to go across and I'm going to kind of highlight that area only by stamping over the lighter color. And it will just pop right off the page. And you're going to be able to see the difference. And I will hold this up for you. And I kind of make them different lengths because they're vines after all. You know, you're never going to know exactly where they fall. And who cares? It's your magic, your art. But look at that. You can see the dark and the light. It's gorgeous. Love it. This pink actually showed up a little darker than I normally do pink on my cards, but I'm digging it. So now, the other one that I use all the time is wildflowers. I actually have, I think, 5 of this one now. I just love it. And the first one I had really got kind of stained and super sticky, and I just got a new one. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the wildflowers in purple. So I want to get a good color. You can kind of see the wetness build up on it. And then I'm just going to do it off to the side. And let that set for a second so the ink goes into the paper. And I know it's not quite as dark as it is on the top, but that's okay, because I'm actually going to go back around on my card and add some dark blue around the edges. And I'm going to go over here to this side. Perfect. Okay, now here's the fun part, and you've seen a lot of people do these videos, and this is super simple, and I do it a lot, and I do it with different size shapes. I do them smaller, I do them bigger, and I just decide where I want it. Sometimes I'm highlighting the foliage, sometimes it's the her wings. This time I'm going it to be kind of her and the bunny. So I'm going to turn this around, although this part really doesn't matter. Now for this one, I didn't pull it out, so bear with me. Sorry, I tried to be ready for you. So for this one, we're going to use the Warm Breeze Versafine Clair, which is a great one for highlighting. I also will use yellow and the pink. It just kind of depends on the mood, but I want to recreate this card for you, and then I'll show you how you can add a little extra to it as well. You can use the makeup sponges, you know, whichever works for you. I don't even remember where I got these, but you can see mine is super well loved. I stamp off on the ends usually, and it's almost always the blue. And then you just get the end of it wet or whichever direction. And then hold this here and start off. And you can do your, sorry, I'm trying to show you where I'm doing it. But I just start on the card, and I go back over it, and I make it as light or as dark as I want to. And I love the effects. So I'm so glad I saw somebody do this one time, because it's one of my favorite tricks to highlight a section or a part of my card. And then I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to match my moon or sun back up. I'm going to hurry through this part for you. Just a little more on the top in that blue area. And if you were patient, I'm not. I like immediate gratification. You could actually go through and highlight with each color of your scene. You know, you could do a little purple up here. You could do blue. You could do the pink. come back and do the yellow and the green, but I just love the way that looks. And already it's darker around the edges, and we really didn't even do anything. But because we've made this our focus, it just stays so bright. So a super easy way to embellish your cards. You can get little jewels, which I love, because who doesn't love a little bling? But I use just 79-cent craft paint, and I have all the primary colors, and then I have a few that are kind of gem or metallic, which is what this one is. And I just put a little squirt on my paper like that, and then I use, I don't know what this is actually, or where I even got it, but it's like a little poker. It's probably a score a little bit, and I just put a little on the end of that. I don't know if you can see it. And then I just put dots in my moon or my highlighted area. And sometimes I'll put, you know, more in one place. I typically will do an odd number because that works in my brain. You can make them big, you can make them little, and you could even do it in different colors if you wanted to. I almost always stick with blue when I'm doing this, unless I have a special order. White is amazing also because it really lightens up that, you know, kind of area. You could do rainbow, but you can still even go back through it with a few, you know, dimensional type blings, little rhinestones. But look how fast that is, and it totally just changes it. I've been known to use the craft paint in her wings and sections if I wanted to. You know, maybe throw a little here and there. 3 works for me. I don't know if you're noticing that. But there's no pattern to it. Just whatever makes you feel good. If you get heavy-handed, nobody else knows that you were heavy-handed. And it's perfect. And it has taken, with explanation, 22 minutes to make this card. And it's fabulous. I love it. So I hope you will too. And then all we have to do is mat this. You could even frame it based on the size. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Maybe somebody else has the same question, and I'll be happy to answer those. Thanks for joining us, and I'm so glad you guys are here. Take care.